Hi, I'm Elisa.
I'm Ben.
And this is E for You. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Lisa. Welcome to season 2.
Thank you. I'm happy for being here. We made it this far. Today's theme. What's today's theme, Ben? How are we going to start off strong?
Environmental justice.
Okay.
And
today's guest is a very special guest. We have been very honored with your presence today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Reza Cristián. I am founder of Sustain the Mag and co-founder of Slow Fashion Festival based in Austin, Texas. And yeah, I just am excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being
thanks for being here.
You see, like we had to put all this greenery out just for you. I was like, we need it for Reza. Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's very much your vibe.
I love green.
Yes, it's my favorite color. Yeah. So today we're gonna get into a few little questions for you, Ben.
But
how are we
first,
gonna?
let's start off with Yuppers.
Oh, we forgot about her.
We definitely.
Okay. Reza, what's your Yuppers?
I would say ice cream.
Okay.
Wait, what's a Yupper again?
Okay, so Yuppers
for season 2 viewers.
For those of you that don't know, and old friends, Yuppers is a highlight of a week, of the past week, that we have. Like, it can be anything. I've actually been called out. I've said coffee a lot on the vlog. I've had multiple people address that in my personal life. They've been like, you only talk about coffee for Yuppers, but it can be anything. It can be like something cool you did, something that, like, a new spot you found, a new band you discovered. I think we like try to keep it local, like things in Austin, because it's just more like a Austin community podcast. But I mean, it can be anything.
Well, okay, the reason why I said ice cream is because right before this, I basically had Zeds for dessert or for lunch or dinner. And it's a local New Zealand ice cream spot. So that was like my highlight of today. It was just like eating ice cream for dinner.
Okay. Yeah.
What'd you get?
It is a blackberry vanilla with Buñuelo crunch and chocolate drizzle. It's so good.
Okay.
So fresh.
Good. Don't they make that with like a special ice cream, like Tillamook or something? I don't know how you say that name. But what kind of ice cream do they have?
It's like a vanilla soft serve, but then they put fresh fruit and they mix it in the vanilla to make it flavored. And it's like actual like fresh berries, fresh bananas. And then they can do a non-dairy coconut vanilla base as well. So it's like healthy, but good.
It's healthy, but dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah.
And Ben?
Am I tripping, or did you say New Zealand ice cream?
It's a New Zealand like
what
concept, but it's here in Austin.
What is the New Zealand?
I think it's
factor?
the fresh berries with that mished into the vanilla. I think that's like the concept.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, did she say?
Yeah, it is New Zealand. You caught that right.
Okay, cool. My uppers of the week is I had some really good pad thai actually from the pho.
When?
I think I've already like addressed the pho before for their coffee, but I had some pad thai like the other day. I picked it up when I was out, and it was really good. It hit really, really good. So
sounds good.
Yeah, I love pad thai.
Okay. I had pad thai for not the first time, but like the first time with eggs in it, and it was very interesting.
Do you not like eggs?
Well, I was vegan and I'm going like vegetarian, so I've been trying to eat more eggs, and it's kind of hard if it's in pad thai because it really killed the vibe.
I get the egg ick sometimes.
Exactly.
It's gross if you think about it. Like I try not. I think like eggs and mayonnaise like are two things I enjoy eating, but I try not to think about it.
And it has egg
like,
as well, I think.
Yeah, I think mayonnaise has eggs.
Yeah,
we went into
all
food
eggs.
now.
Yeah, we're a food review podcast now. I think my yuppers would be I got coffee with my brother the other day.
Aww.
He's behind the camera, so he knows. But yeah, we got coffee, so it was chill. And
where'd you go?
to a top secret location. That's my place. Well, you can't expose my location.
You're right. She's
Only the real ones know.
She's gatekeeping.
Yeah, I had to gatekeep. But yeah, so that was cool. And now I think for realsies, we're ready. For real. We're ready for your questions, Reza.
Okay.
Ben's gonna dive into everything we need to know.
Yes. So the first one is just if you want to give us an overview, like about Sustain the Mag, like what do you do? Like when did you found it? Like tell us about it.
Yeah. So I founded Sustain the Mag in college when I was a senior, 2017. I graduated 2018, and I wanted to create like an independent online publication similar to RIP Refinery 29, Vice magazine, also RIP in some way, because these were like big, and I went to school for journalism, and I was like, oh my God, I look up to like these big online publications, but they weren't hitting the nail right in terms of like environmental justice. Like no one was talking about environmental justice, and even like the bloggers back then were talking about sustainability in like more of a whitewashed, inaccessible way. So I was like, no, there needs to be a change. And then I loved fashion magazines, and I was like, all the fashion magazines and like the people on the covers aren't really like everyday people. They're not real life change makers in the world that are doing awesome things. So that's kind of where like the idea spurred from, is like wanting to change how I saw online magazines. And yeah, it just is supposed to be a publication embodying slow media, making sustainability accessible and inclusive for everyone, and like creating thought-provoking storytelling, articles and, events, and just making it a fun, unique way of like understanding the everyday intersections of our lives and how it connects to environmental justice. So that's where it came from. That was like 5 years ago. So yeah, it's been a cool journey.
Okay. It's like a whole toddler now. I can walk.
Yeah, it's a
toddler.
toddler.
More than a toddler. 5 years. That's like kindergarten age, right?
It's a kindergartner.
Oh. I don't have kids, so I don't know all the ages. He's a teacher.
Well, I mean, that kind of like, you kind of covered the second question we had, which was like, what led you to creating Sustain? But if I can toss like what's it called, a curveball? I was thinking, how often do you update Sustain? Like, is it something that comes out like quarterly, monthly? Is it just like as you get content?
As of now, our editorial is currently paused, and that is because we have a big shift coming. But prior to that, we were taking in like 5 to 10 articles per month, and they're all online. We don't do really quarterly, but one thing we do quarterly is our digital covers. So basically, like what I was saying earlier is like the fashion magazines, or just like Time magazine, have like Taylor Swift, for example, on the cover, and it's like, is that really the person of the year? So we have a quarterly, or try to, depending on like my schedule, we have our own digital cover star, and usually it's like local people. So the last person was Lucille. She's the founder of the Texas Buffalo Tribal, nonprofit based in Texas. She's, indigenous, trying to bring back buffalo to Texas, and showcasing, the indigenous culture around buffalo. So we highlighted her, went to her farm, saw the buffalo, and that was like one of our last cover stars. So it was really exciting to kind of go out and like see buffalo in real life. Like I haven't done that. So yeah, I would say that is like more of like a quarterly basis, and it's like a big production where we like have the photographer, the videographer, story around this person, and we just find them based on like who we think is like a change maker in our lives.
That's so cool.
I think we've heard of the what would you call it, the
Texas Buffalo Project.
Yeah, I think we've heard about that whenever we were at Tanzia's dinner party, and they were mentioning that.
Yes, they mentioned that then. I remember at the Bengali night.
Yeah, I was very interested in that. I thought it was just a unique concept that was really.
I can't imagine how big they are. Like,
yeah, there's some babies too.
I saw horses. I think in real life on Sunday when we all were. And I was like, man, like horses are like huge. Like I can't even like imagine how big like.
Yeah, we couldn't get too close to them, because if you do, then like it can be a little dangerous. But we got close enough, and it was cool to see them. And like there's a lot just like running wild on her. Not running wild, but they were like living wild on her land.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the next one we have is like, how is Sustain the Mag like showing up in or for like the Austin community specifically?
Yeah, so since I moved to Austin 4 years ago, I made it my mission to kind of like immerse Sustain in the Austin community. And with the pandemic, it kind of like, you know, I couldn't really do that. I took that in the back burner in terms of community in real life projects and like activations. But at the early stages, it was mostly like we did monthly cleanups because it felt more like COVID friendly. We could like all wear masks, be outside. We had a spot that we would always do. I haven't done this in a while because I've had since more projects that are different. And I wanted to do things outside of just cleanups because I was like, oh, maybe I can do other things that also impact with the community. So since then, I got introduced to free fridges, I think like 2.5 years ago, or maybe more, 3 years ago. And then I wanted to create fundraisers using my like connections, like partners, companies, brands, to raise money and buy groceries and just fill a bunch of fridges up for like Earth Month, for example. We did it for South by last year. I've done that in Austin and New York, but primarily I've done that in Austin every year for the last 2 years. So that was one way. And then another way is like my next project was like trying to make, you know, public transit and the bus more like accessible and cool and fun. So like I'm starting a new series where I partner with Cap Metro and I try to like make like sustainable bus tours where we have like routes that go to different spots to like highlight different businesses or, you know, places in our city that are sustainable and have environmental justice background, and then like bring people there on the bus. And that's been a fun thing. I launched that last month, and you guys were there, or you were there. Wait, yeah.
It was cute. I love that. Yeah.
So I would say I like showing up in Austin in like how I feel, what I feel passionate about, and that's like cleanups, free fridges, public transit, and like just trying to make it more fun and unique and not so scary. So yeah.
The bus tour was really cool because like I like come from like the suburbs where like public transit is not a thing really, and so I was like moving here, I was like, I don't even know how to like use the bus or like figure out the routes or anything. And so like that was like a really cool way to like help like, you know, even just like become familiar with the environment of like a bus stop and like being on the bus and like so yay. I really think it's
I'm happy.
Yeah, I think you've helped me like figure out kind of how the buses work. I know I've taken the bus with you maybe like 4 times, so I'm not as stressed. So that's good.
Even though I'm making you guys run to the stops.
Yeah,
it's part of the experience.
The Reza experience.
So Sustain, I want to like make sure I get this quote right, but Sustain is described as your #1 inclusively ethical media site. So what does this like mean? Like, and how is that like reflected in Sustain?
Yeah, I would say that goes back to that, what I was mentioning earlier, like in 2017 when I started Sustain. You know, I saw bloggers at that time in New York City and California like not bring inclusivity and environmental justice in their sustainability blogs and articles. And even when sustainability was talked about in the mass media, it wasn't as such a buzzword like it is now. Like everyone is like interested in it. Like even, you know, Shein and like H&M are like trying to claim that they have some sort of sustainability even though they don't. But back then it like no one cared to talk about it as much. Obviously people in the communities did talk about it. I just mean mass, like big multimedia, pop culture, all that, like no one really spoke about it. But of course, like, you know, the indigenous communities, like, yes, they did. So I just want to like make that clear. But in media in general, it wasn't being talked about in that inclusivity way. So that's why I claimed myself as that at that time, because I did a lot of research trying to figure out like who is out there that's doing this. And I really didn't see that much. Maybe a few, definitely, but they were more on the blogging side. And mine, I was trying to stay away from being a blog, and I was trying to be like, hey, we are an online publication that's like very similar to a magazine like Refinery 29 or Vice. So, and I don't just write the articles, I have contributors. So that was why I was trying to like be a little different than a blogger, because usually bloggers, which nothing wrong with them, I was a blogger, but most likely you write your own articles or own pieces versus like a magazine, you have contributors. So that was where that statement came from, was like, did my research, I found out like not a lot of people were doing this in terms of like a magazine, online magazine format. So yeah, I had that. And obviously there has been a lot more that came out since then, and that's awesome. There's a lot of like, you know, inclusive environmental justice like magazines that are now out, that are print and digital, which is great because it's like kind of shows that, you know, people do care, and it's now being talked about more, which I think we all know, like that people are talking about environmental justice more in their everyday life. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from. And I know we're probably not the number one anymore, but back then, yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like a perfect segue into like the last question is, where do you see Sustain headed? Like, you know, do you want, like, it's number one in my head, but like do you want to reach that like number one, or like where do you see your...
I think, and this sucks to know, that media and journalism is dying. More people are interested in short form videos, more people are interested in like graphics, not so much long form articles as much. That's why RIP to Refinery 29 and RIP to like Vice. Like, I'm seeing every day like all these like publications that like I looked up to back in 2017 are like going under. They're not doing well anymore. So because of that, it makes me think, is editorial still what I want to do, even though it's my passion, even though it's what I went to school for? So what's next is, I think Sustain the Mag is meant to be a nonprofit. We are not right now. And I want to focus more on community-led events, community initiatives and programs. And I also want to have still our editorial aspect, but maybe not focus on it as much, because it was a lot to juggle both the community events and editorial at once. So, and maybe have a print one day. Maybe it's like a once a year, you know, coffee table book where people can read and like just have it out. And yeah, that's like my dream. I've always wanted to print one type of Sustain, even if it's just a one-off and not like an every year thing. So yeah, we'll see.
That'd be really cute, just a little coffee table book,
Yeah,
like
cute,
Sustain
yeah.
magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have that.
Aww.
For sure.
I would give
I'd
you
ask you to
guys
sign
one.
it again.
Yeah.
like,
I will just give you one, so don't worry.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask about, you had mentioned your contributors. Are they all here based in Austin, or are they around?
You're all over the world.
Oh.
We've had writers from Paris, India, Mexico, Canada, like the US. So yeah, they just have found us. I think our Google search is really great. And I get like still emails to this day where like, hey, can I write for you? And then like, another thing about Sustain the Mag is, when I was young, I wanted to write for like the New Yorker. Like, it's like a, you know, online, or not online, it's a print publication. And I was like a 15-year-old thinking I can just submit and I'll be accepted. And I did submit and I did not get anything. I didn't hear anything back. So I wanted Sustain the Mag to be someone that wasn't like elitist, that would just like only accept you if like you're the, you know, have so much, you know, bylines of major publications. So that's another thing, is like we have a pretty high acceptance rate because we really just want people to share what they want and what they're passionate about, and like to, you know, let Sustain help them, you know, get their feet wet in case they're not, you know, big, you know, journalists and writers, or maybe they are young. We've had some like young, you know, 17, 8-year-old writers just write for us about what they care. So that's another thing that I'm proud of about Sustain, is like we, you know, let anyone's voice be heard, so long as it kind of follows the environmental justice like scope.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
You can write for them, Ben.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I used to be like a little 16-year-old that was like, I wanted to get into the New Yorker, the Paris Review,
Yeah,
like stuff
right?
like that. But then I got older and like, I was like, oh,
Sustain the
man,
Mag's better.
Yeah, exactly. It's more for everyone. This is like so off topic, but like hearing you talk about 2017 and saying like back then, I'm like, oh my God.
You're old now.
I'm like, whoa.
I know, it's
I was like a
long
senior
ago
in high
now.
school that year. And I don't know, like in my head, I'm like, oh, that was like what, like 2 years ago? And I sat here, and when you said back then, I was like, Reza, it wasn't that long ago. And then I'm like, it was 7 years ago.
Yeah,
like,
it was
that
long
is
ago now.
a long
Mhm.
time. Like,
The last time we recorded a podcast, Ben was 23.
oh God.
Get that through your head.
That's like, I gotta sit with that now. Like,
Aw.
yeah.
I was watching the last podcast and you're like, I'm gonna be 24.
Oh yeah. I remember
Mhm.
that part. 'Cause
Now
it was
look
like
at you.
10 days before my birthday, I think, or 12 days something.
We were
Yeah.
counting down.
I like randomly spiral about aging sometimes. Like I'm like, oh my god, like I know age is like just a number, whatever, but I'm also like, wait, like,
It is.
You'll be composted.
like
Do you think you would want to be a tree when you?
It's got dark.
I know. It's like,
No, but you know,
so,
like
like-
how they're like you can be composted and
Oh,
become
Yeah,
a tree.
you
Mhm.
can. Yeah.
Would you want to do that? Would y'all want to do that?
That'd be cool.
no.
I might just want to be, what is it called?
cremated.
Yeah.
That's
I was
what
going to say fire.
Oh, fire. Just burned. Like, no, I'd want to be cremated and like
Your
released.
ashes thrown.
Yeah, somewhere.
I want to be a tree.
I mean, I won't be
That
here
does
for-
sound cool,
I mean,
though.
that'd be cool.
You
Yeah.
can pick what kind of tree you want to be too.
Maybe
Okay.
we
It's
can do
sustainable, think about that.
These trees or plants.
Fine,
Yeah.
yeah.
It can be a Monstera deliciosa.
Or a peace lily.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
Thank you for being on today's podcast.
Of course. Thank you for
Talking
having
about
me.
death and sustainability.
You know, it's all a cycle. What's it called? The circle of life.
The circle of life, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So where can the people find you? Where can they get in contact? Find your
Yeah.
mission? Everything about you.
Yeah, so you can find me at Reza Cristián, RezaCristian, or also at Sustain the Mag, and then my website is sustainthemag.com. And yeah, if you want to write for me, I will accept you.
Yay!
tell them E4 sent you.
Yes.
E4U
yes.
sent you.
Get like a coupon, not coupon codes, like reference codes.
Yeah.
Do you have any upcoming events you'd like to share this next year or whatever?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it earlier, but I am the co-founder of Slow Fashion Festival, and that is coming up, our spring fashion show, April 13th for Earth Month. So that is our next one, and then I will have an upcoming bus tour soon. Date is TBA, but just follow at Sustain the Mag, and you can get all the updates there.
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube at E4Youth.
Yes. And thank you for everybody for watching. Season 2 is,
A lot of fun.
it's gonna be updated, it's gonna be full of greenery, and it's gonna be here at Dawa. And that's everything from E.
For
Yep.